Hey everybody, welcome to SI.com. I'm Ted Keith along with Steve Cannella. And Steve, another week and another big name, high-priced veteran baseball player faces an uncertain future. Last week it was David Wright going on the disabled list and Ryan Howard being benched by the Phillies. This week the Los Angeles Dodgers have optioned Carl Crawford for assignment, even though he still has $34 million remaining on that massive contract he signed to go to the Boston Red Sox before the 2011 season. What do you make of this move, and what do you think happens to Carl Crawford from here?
It's been a long time coming for Carl Crawford. We've seen that his performance dipping for several seasons now. His performance started to dip even around the time he signed that contract with LA. This was a bad deal at the time, and I think everyone knew it. And this is just another example of major league teams having the money management skills of someone like me. They have money, they like to spend it, they don't care about how it's going to affect them necessarily 7-8 years down the road. And these cautionary tales are all over the place. You mentioned Ryan Howard, you mentioned David Wright. Carl Crawford is just the latest guy who's going to make teams who have just handed out big contracts to current players get a little glimpse of what their future is going to be 4 or 5 years down the road.
Yeah, I mean, David Wright would be an easy guy to point to because he's still got that 8-year, $138 million contract, and we don't know what to make of what's going to happen there. But how about another guy like Jose Reyes, the former David Wright teammate when they came up together with the Mets? Still playing under that $106 million deal. Now he's with the Colorado Rockies. He's facing the suspension for the domestic abuse charges and hasn't played yet this season. When he did play last year amid the trade from the Toronto Blue Jays, not anywhere near the all-star level that we saw from him a long time ago. So that contract goes through 2017 and has a big $22 million option for 2018, which we know already is not going to be picked up. He faces an uncertain future, too. I mean, are there other guys that you look at and say that's a bad deal?
You look at a guy like Justin Verlander, who was given a 5-year extension 2 seasons ago. He's going to be making $28 million a year for the next several seasons. Justin Verlander has been adequate, maybe slightly above adequate, certainly a solid major league starter. Has he been a $28 million pitcher? Tigers are going to be regretting that deal, I think, down the road. There are a couple deals we saw just this offseason. David Price in Boston. I think the conventional wisdom was the contract he got this winter was a deal that the Red Sox were going to regret way down the road and late in that deal. But the way he's pitched so far this season, you have to wonder if the Red Sox aren't already wondering if David Price is worth the money. They thought they were going to get their money's worth early in that contract. It doesn't seem like that's going to happen. These tales are all over the place right now.
Yeah, and these are not guys that, as we've talked about, everybody in baseball knows you sign guys, you're going to eat that money on the back end because they're not going to be very good. It's a problem when they're not performing at the beginning of a contract at the level you expect. I mean, think of guys like Albert Pujols and Robinson Cano, who in the past couple of years signed identical $240 million contracts, and those deals started going bad almost right away. Josh Hamilton, who's out for the season, was still playing under that contract he signed with the Angels 5 years, $125 million. That one hasn't worked out. The only lesson here, I think the takeaway is that people should be smarter with that kind of huge investment and spend it on people who are going to, give them the bang for the buck they're looking for, such as baseball editors.
1-year contracts. A series of 1-year contracts. That's what baseball should go to. I'm sure the union will go for that.
Yeah.
For SI.com and Ted Keith, I'm Steve Cannella.